Here is Lucia Musau, CEO of African Elite Group, discussing the CEO's mindset, transitioning from influence to leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Lucia Musau.
Today I'm not coming to tell you here what I learned in business school and what I spend a lot of time teaching in most of these forums. Today's forum, I want to talk about my personal experience because I have been a creator and I've been a CEO. I want to take you back where it started. But before then, I first want to understand, where were you in 2010? Where were you in 2010? At the back, where were you in 2010? Someone at the back, where were you in 2010? In primary school? Who was in kindergarten? You were in kindergarten, my goodness. Anyone else who was in kindergarten? Guys, this is absolutely wonderful. So, in 2010, I started African Elite Group. 2010. Today, we work with some of the world's largest and most beautiful brands. When you think of soda, what brand do you think of? Please shout it loud. If you think of soda, what brand do you think of? Thank you. Coca-Cola is my client. When you think of champagne, what brand do you think of? Thank you. That's my client. No, I'm not bragging. I earned it. You must understand, when I started doing it, some of you were in kindergarten. That is growth. It takes time. It takes consistency. Now, the year is 2010. A lot of things were happening in 2010. Believe it or not, iPhone had just launched iPhone 4. How many of you have iPhones here? What iPhone do you have now? 16. 17. What I'm saying is, in 2010, we were in iPhone 4. Would you believe it? Back then, mohawks were hot, guys. They were hot. Maxis were in. Skater dresses were on. My goodness, life was different. And you know what else was different? Myself. Me, moi. As a little girl, I still am. I was a little ambitious girl. And I wish I could move around. I love to move around. If you see me teaching a lot, it's probably because I am a teacher. When I'm not studying in places like this, and I'm not at African Elite Group, I lecture in this university in CIPR, where I talk about PR. That's my bread and butter. So back in 2010, when all these things were hot, I was also hot. And I wanted to make something for myself. I wanted to start an agency. It looked amazing. I wanted to be Gina Dean. I wanted to be like Gina Dean. And it was amazing. It was a big, bold, audacious dream. So I went and registered my agency in 2010. But then I realized it wasn't as easy. You go knocking for these clients. These clients now I'm talking about so fondly. Back then I would walk in with a business card and a registered business. Like what you asked. I was one of those ones. I went and registered a big business and I called it African Elite. Can you imagine? I'm just this little girl, but I'm called African Elite. African what? But I registered it anyway. Then I started knocking doors. I went to so many businesses. And I was telling them how we can transform their businesses with our marketing expertise. But then, it wasn't that easy. Now, I was seated back home, a struggling agency founder, with my bio on Facebook. Back then, Facebook was an in thing. And I wrote under my bio, CEO and founder. Guys, please clock it for me. At least I had that much. Thank you. Back then we weren't clocking. We were clapping 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll show you at the end. So what did I do? I realized a lot of things were happening. Some of them, all those things I talked about, maxis were hot, skater dresses were hot, and there's something I was good at, fashion. So what did I do? I started taking photos every day before I went to the office of my outfit, and I would post on Facebook. Every single day before work, I took cute outfits, I posted on Facebook. I also went on WordPress and started a blog. And I called it luciamusau.com. And every day, I shared my outfit photos on Facebook, and I would also write where I got it. Back then, we weren't meeting with Mato in airports. Mostly, we were meeting thrifting. Times were different. Tour market. It's French. Back then it was just toy. Like I said, I picked my outfits, I wore them, I posted on Facebook, and I registered a blog on WordPress. Even before I registered luciamusau.com, it was wordpress.com/luciamusau. Actually, either that or the other one. It was the very beginning. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how I found myself as a blogger. There was a word then. We were bloggers. I think I was blogger 0010. Somewhere around, we were very few. All these people today who have grown to be these massive individuals, that's where we started. I remember Alai talking about politics. The Cyprian Nyakundis of this world, Kenyan Stylista, this is S, all these people. We started with them back then, and we were talking about fashion every day, about what we wore, where we got our outfits, and how to style those pieces. I hope that answers your question. You have to start from where you are. Years went on. Then we started getting recognized. Audience grew. Back then, I was posting on my Facebook profile. But suddenly, I had so many people following me, I converted my Facebook profile to a page. It became a page. Suddenly, at first it was 5,000 followers, 10,000, 50,000. 60,000, 100,000. Sooner or later, I had shops. It started with shops. Shops were sending us goodies. Today we call them PR packages. That name didn't exist then. But it's like, oh my God, I'd like to send you shoes. Suddenly I was expanding my closet. I cleared 2 rooms, I made them closets because I had so much shoes and clothes and brands were sending. And finally, I was like, oh my gosh, this can't go on. I can't keep accepting. And if I don't accept, also I feel bad about it. So I started charging people to wear their outfits. Suddenly, I had a rate card. I remember the first person who paid me 7,500 to wear a dress. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. I am charging to wear an outfit. But on the other side, my agency was still struggling. I was getting projects here and there, but they were still very small. So I got the first few small shops in town, and we were wearing these outfits. I would get an outfit, charge, I started with 7,500, then I went to 10K, 20K. Suddenly I was in business. Then brands came. When brands came, that's when the idea started. I realized, looks like I'm onto something here. Back then, the market was not as fragmented as it is today. All these names I mentioned, we all used to talk. We weren't as many. Today there are so many influencers. If we filled here, there would be still more outside. Back then we were so few. So we were all catching up. Every event we went, if there was any big fashion event, all the fashion bloggers, we were all there and we sat at the front. We had the best seats, good times. When we started making money, that's when the opportunity really started. And I'm not talking about the 20,000 of when we started getting paid. And I remember some of the earliest brands that started paying us were the likes of Tecno, the phone brands. What happened then? I realized I had an opportunity. What was the opportunity? I said, to book me, you're going to book me through my agency. Please not moi, the founder. But you still needed to book the agency to book me. So I routed the business from me to suddenly a multiplier effect. I had a business. So what happened? Every brand that I worked with suddenly was giving business to the agency. But at the very first time, they were just booking me as Lucia. Then I went to my friends. I said to them, how much are these people paying you? You know what? I'm going to negotiate you a better price. However, I will handle the negotiation. So what happened? I became a creator agency before even I knew there was a name for it. I was booking my friends through my PR and marketing agency then. So I was just me, brands, and my friends. Except we are all using my agency as the platform to book. That's when we came up with rate cards. Now we had rate cards, we are getting booked, and we are getting paid. So, now I am so busy at that point. I am booked and busy. Literally. You're moving from one brand to the other. I remember I traveled a lot. That's when I started catching these flights with Mato. I remember I worked with brands like Bata. Bata is from Czech Republic. How many of you knew that? How many of you know that Bata is from Czech Republic? So, we travel with places. I remember Bata took us to Milan and took us for fashion shows in Czech Republic, and it was an amazing time. And all this time, every time a brand booked me, they booked the agency. I used the agency to book for my friends. So suddenly, I was scaling. And as I got busy, I realized, oh my goodness, how do I transform from being completely stretched that I no longer have time? That I no longer have time for anything else. And this is when scaling started. So, instead of sitting down and saying, and I think it's safe to say this was the moment that defined where I'm at today. So at one point, I was fully, and I mean entirely, booked and busy. I was moving around. I was traveling a lot. Brands were booking us, and it was insane. We were still posting on blogs and everything. But then came new players. Instagram also launched in 2010, but it didn't take footing till a few years later. Now we had all these platforms. These platforms were reducing the amount of, let me put it this way, back then, people would spend so much time reading an article. But here comes a new platform, which only takes 9 seconds to get your attention. So times were changing. Times were changing so fast that we needed to change with time. And I made a defining moment. For me, I started skewing my brand towards the new architecture, the agency. So I sat at the back and started orchestrating some of those campaigns. I'll give you an example of butter, for example. I went to the brand and told them, I have seen where you are struggling. You have taken me to Milan, you have taken me to Czech Republic many times, but I can do more for you. What you are lacking, I happen to understand it. I have been a content creator, I understand PR, I understand marketing, and this is what I can do. You no longer need to pay me as an individual. You are going to pay me an agency. And I'm going to give you a whole new course of action. And that's when things change fully. So first, I'm going to tell you what it really took. 4 things. Number 1, and please take notes, platform. Platform. You define the platform. You understand what you share on that platform. And you remain consistent on that platform. Back in my years, it was Facebook. Today, times have changed. That's why when you go on TikTok, find me. Because I'm also moving with time. Number 2, proof. What are your results? Today, in the brands that we work with, I see a lot of creators coming in. I have this number of followers. Honey, followers do not, and I say this fully with a lot of respect, followers are not impacting my bottom line. I want to know what you can do for my business. I want to know what you can drive towards my campaign. So followers is not the mechanism that we are using today. How many things have I told you so far? How many? Number 1, number 2, number 3, positioning. What exactly do you represent? How exactly do you want to be perceived? What do you represent? How are you positioned? I like to tell my clients, and I like to tell my students, money follows perception. You can be very, very good at your job. You can be great at everything that you do. But if there's not something that you stand for, you are going to remain underpaid, many a times overlooked. How many statements have I told you so far? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. I talk about number 4. I want to take you back with 2, 3 other things that truly define you as a creator, and which, when you compound with my 4 P's, is what truly builds brands. Authenticity. Today we see in platforms, same platforms that I've talked about, we see a lot of people trying to be something that you cannot sustain. And I think it's said here, who said, what are the things that you can do consecutively with less effort? Authenticity. Number 2, connection. Are you connected to your audience? Because without connection, you are always going to be preaching. And people are wondering, what value do you bring to them? And then, number 3, which ties to my 4th P, is community. You build a community over and above. Do you know the people that are engaged with your content? If Instagram today closed down and TikTok closed down, would you be able to move your following elsewhere? Or would you be out of business? And this brings me to the 4th P, proximity. Proximity. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, proximity. How well can you today assume that Instagram closed, TikTok closed down, and to some of us, LinkedIn closed? You still be in business? Or would your livelihood be done? So, how exactly do you remain close to your audience? How do you have a newsletter that you reach out to them? Do you have a WhatsApp group? Are there ways, if you invited your team, your followers, to meet you at a place like this, is there any way you would reach them? Is there something that you are selling to them beyond the content? Those 4 things: proof, platform, proximity, positioning. Very important to you, the content. And now, it's something that I've developed, and I'm going to leave this as a present. Martin, you can share. And you can share with all of you later. I've created a framework to help you define, to build, to demonstrate, and multiply. All right? So it starts with visibility. From visibility, this I equated to my WordPress era. But visibility is not vanity. It's the foundation. You get seen as yourself consistently before you ask for anything. Number 2 is the architecture. The moment for me I started being booked through my agency, that was my architecture. So I want to help you define what is your architecture. And number 3 is scale. This is the bigger network move. So, my test for scale is very simple. Can you take 2 weeks off as a content creator? Or even 3 weeks off? Can you take 3 weeks off and still make money as a content creator? If your answer is no, then you haven't scaled yet. So, I want to leave you with my VAS framework. Visibility, architecture, scale. Thank you very much for listening.